Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's Miss Gilmore here to read with you the excerpt from the Ramayana in your textbook, starting on page 208 in your textbook. As we begin, or before we begin, rather, I want to say that hopefully, before you've gotten to this point, you have clicked through, listened to, or watched the introductory PowerPoint. If you have not, I highly suggest that you stop right now and go back to the PowerPoint for the Ramayana and watch it, okay? Or click through it on your own, read through it on your own, what have you, all right? Because it's going to be very, very important to understanding this story, all right? So, again, this is an epic poem, much like the Odyssey, except it's not about the Greeks. It is about Indian gods or mythical gods who have taken a stronghold on the Indian culture, who have a big, big part and big impact on the Indian culture, okay? So as we read both this story and the next one, which is the Chinese intellects, I want for you to be using your powers of inference to figure out what some of the beliefs are of the period. Okay? So here we are, page 208. I'm reading the background. As an adult, Rama is about to inherit the throne from his father when evil plots result in his banishment from the kingdom. For 14 years he wanders in exile with his wife Sita and his brother Lakshmana. During this time, Sita is kidnapped by the evil giant Ravana, whose name means he who makes the universe scream. So, what can we already infer about Ravana? It's this huge monster, right? So, if you read the PowerPoint notes, you know that this huge monster has 10 heads and 20 arms. So, of course, he's probably not going to be a good person, and he's going to, as his name says, make the universe scream. He's a pretty bad person. Rama sets out to rescue Sita with the help of Hanuman, the monkey god, and a huge battle ensues. This selection opens as the battle is reaching its climax. So, this is why I said that you need to go back and read the PowerPoint notes, all right, because we don't get to read the whole first part of this story. The PowerPoint notes will help catch you up to where we are starting right now. So, Rama and Ravana in battle. Every moment, news came to Ravana of fresh disasters in his camp. One by one, most of his commanders were lost. No one who went forth with battle cries was heard of again. Cries and shouts and the wailings of the widows of warriors came over the chants and songs of triumph that his courtiers arranged to keep up at a loud pitch in his assembly hall. Ravana became restless and abruptly left the hall and went up on a tower, from which he could obtain a full view of the city. He surveyed the scene below, but could not stand it. One who had spent a lifetime in destruction now found the gory spectacle intolerable. Groans and wailings reached his ears with deadly clarity, and he noticed how the monkey hordes reveled in their bloody handiwork. This was too much for him. He felt a terrific rage rising within him, mixed with some admiration for Rama's valor. He told himself, "The time has come for me to act by myself again." So remember, Ravana is the bad guy. Okay, Ravana is the one who's got 10 heads and 10 arms. He is seeking to destroy Rama and destroy his place on the throne. He hurried down the steps of the tower, returned to his chamber, and prepared himself for the battle. He had a ritual bath and performed special prayers to gain the benediction of Shiva, donned his battle dress, matchless armor, armlets, and crowns. He had on a protective armor for every inch of his body. He girt his sword belt and attached to his body his accoutrements for protection and decoration. When he emerged from his chamber, his heroic appearance was breathtaking. He summoned his chariot, which could be drawn by horses or move on its own if the horses were hurt or killed. People stood aside when he came out of the palace and entered his chariot. "This is my resolve," he said to himself. "Either that woman Sita or my wife Mandadori will soon have cause to cry and roll in the dust of grief. Surely before this day is done, one of them will be a widow." The gods in heaven noticed Ravana's determined move and felt that Rama would need all the support they could muster. They requested Indra to send down his special chariot for Rama's use. When the chariot appeared at his camp, Rama was deeply impressed with the magnitude and brilliance of the vehicle. "How has this come to be here?" he asked. "Sir," the charioteer answered, "my name is Matali. I have the honor of being the charioteer of Indra. Brahma, the four-faced god and the creator of the universe, and Shiva, whose power has emboldened Ravana now to challenge you, have commanded me to bring it here for your use. It can fly swifter than air over all obstacles, over any mountain, sea, or sky, and will help you to emerge victorious in this battle. All right, so if you're starting to get a little bit confused, don't get hung up on the secondary names so much of the secondary characters. So make sure you stay cognizant or aware of the main characters. All right, so we have this battle between Rama and Ravana, the good guy who was supposed to take the throne of his father who died and who is in exile for 14 years versus the big bad guy, Ravana. Okay. So much like Odysseus, Rama is receiving help from the gods. Okay. Even though he is this great, amazing fighter, heroic warrior, he still needs the help of the gods. Rama reflected aloud. It may be that the Raksh, let me see how to say that word, Rakshasas have created the illusion for me. It may be a trap. I don't know how to view it. Whereupon Matali spoke convincingly to dispel the doubt in Rama's mind. Rama, still hesitant, though partially convinced, looked at Hanuman and Lakshmana and asked, "What do you think of it?" Both answered, "We feel no doubt that this chariot is Indra's. It is not an illusory creation." Rama fastened his sword, slung two quivers full of rare arrows over his shoulders, and climbed into the chariot. The beat of war drums, the challenging cries of soldiers, the trumpets, and the rolling chariots speeding along to confront each other created a deafening mixture of noise. While Ravana had instructed his charioteer to speed ahead, Rama very gently ordered his chariot driver, "Ravana is enraged. Let him perform all the antics he desires and exhaust himself. Until then, be calm. We don't have to hurry forward. Move slowly and calmly, and you must strictly follow my instructions. I will tell you when to drive faster." Ravana's assistant and one of his staunchest supporters, uh, Mah- Mah- mm, Mahadara, sorry, Mahadara, the giant among giants in his physical appearance, begged Ravana, "Let me be a mere spectator when you confront Rama. Let me have the honor of grappling with him. Permit me to attack Rama." "Rama is my sole concern," Ravana replied. "If you wish to engage yourself in a fight, you may fight his brother, Lakshmana." So Ravana is like, "Oh, no, 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 you don't. He's mine." Okay, so he has this help of this huge giant of like grotesque sizes who is there to help him. And this giant says, "Please let me be the one to attack Rama." And Ravana's like, "Oh, no, sir, that one's for me." Noticing Mahadara's purpose, Rama steered his chariot across his path in order to prevent Mahadara from reaching Lakshmana. Whereupon Madara ordered his chariot driver, "Now dash straight ahead directly into Rama's chariot." The charioteer, more practical minded, advised him, "I would not go near Rama. Let us keep away." But Mahadara, obstinate and intoxicated with war fever, made straight for Rama. So he's trying to ram his chariot into Rama's chariot. This is the big monstrous giant. Okay, he's trying to ram his chariot into Rama's chariot. He wanted to have the honor of a direct encounter with Rama himself in spite of Ravana's advice. And for this honor he paid a heavy price, and it was a moment's work for Rama to destroy him and leave him lifeless and shapeless on the field. Noticing this, Ravana's anger mounted further. He commanded his driver, "You will not slacken now. Go." Many ominous signs were seen now. His bowstring suddenly snapped. The mountains shook. Thunders rumbled in the skies. Tears flowed from the horses' eyes. Elephants with decorated foreheads moved along dejectedly. Ravana, noticing them, hesitated only for a second, saying, "I don't care. This mere mortal Rama is of no account, and these omens do not concern me at all." So what's happening here? The mountains are moving, thunders are rumbling in the skies. These are all omens. What's an omen? An omen is a foreshadowing of something to come, right? So he's saying, "I don't care about this foreshadowing." What do you think these events might be foreshadowing? That something bad is probably going to happen to him, right? They do not concern me at all. Meanwhile, Rama paused for a moment to consider his next step, and suddenly turned towards the army supporting Ravana, which stretched away to the horizon, and he destroyed them. He felt that this might be one way of saving Ravana. With his armies gone, it was possible that Ravana might have a change of heart, but it had only the effect of spurring Ravana on. He plunged forward and kept coming nearer Rama and his own doom. I'm on page 210 now, the second paragraph, second big paragraph. Rama's army cleared and made way for Ravana's chariot, unable to stand the force of his approach. Ravana blew his conch and its shrill challenge reverberated through space. Following it, another conch, called Panchajanya, which belonged to Mahavishnu, Rama's original form before his present incarnation, sounded of its own accord in answer to the challenge, agitating the universe with its vibrations. And then Matali picked up another conch, which was Indra's, and blew it. This was the signal indicating the commencement of the actual battle. So, game on, right? Presently, Ravana sent a shower of arrows down on Rama, and Rama's followers, unable to bear the sight of his body being studded with arrows, averted their heads. Then the chariot horses of Ravana and Rama glared at each other in hostility, and the flags topping the chariots, Ravana's ensign of the Veena and Rama's with the whole universe on it, clashed. And one heard the stringing and twanging of bowstrings on both sides, overpowering in volume all other sound. Then followed a shower of arrows from Rama's own bow. Ravana stood gazing at the chariot sent by Indra and swore, "These gods, instead of supporting me, have gone to the support of this petty human being. I will teach them a lesson. He is not fit to be killed with my arrows, but I shall seize him and his chariot together and fling them into high heaven and dash them to destruction." So if you recall from the intro PowerPoint, Ravana was promised to have help from the gods and spirits, but instead, the gods have decided to help Rama. Okay, despite his oath, he still strung his bow and sent a shower of arrows at Rama, raining in thousands, but they were all invariably shattered and neutralized by the arrows from Rama's bow, which met arrow for arrow. Ultimately, Ravana, instead of using one bow, I'm at the top of page 211, Ravana, instead of using one bow, used 10 with his 20 arms, multiplying his attack tenfold. But Rama stood unhurt. Ravana suddenly realized that he should change his tactics and ordered his charioteer to fly the chariot up in the skies. From there, he attacked and destroyed a great many of the monkey army supporting Rama. Rama ordered Matali, "Go up in the air. Our young soldiers are being attacked from the sky. Follow Ravana and don't slacken." There followed an aerial pursuit at dizzying speeds across the dome of the sky and the limb of the earth. Ravana's arrows came down like rain. He was bent upon destroying everything in the world. But Rama's arrows diverted, broke, or neutralized Ravana's. Terror-stricken, the gods watched this pursuit. Presently, Ravana's arrows struck Rama's horses and pierced the heart of Matali himself. The charioteer fell. Rama paused for a while in grief, undecided as to his next step. Then he recovered and resumed his offensive. At that moment, the divine eagle Garuda was seen perched on Rama's flag post, and the gods who were watching felt that this could be an auspicious sign. Ooh, there's that word auspicious. We were learning that back when we read Sold with Lakshmi, right? Auspicious. It was an auspicious night. So this is a good sign, a lucky sign. After circling the globe several times, the dueling chariots returned and the fight continued over Lanka. It was impossible to be very clear about the location of the battleground as the fight occurred here, there, and everywhere. So here we have these two beings, these two kind of deities, right? They're fighting it out. They're down on earth and then they're up in the sky and their chariots are flying up in the sky and all over earth they're fighting and these arrows are flying all over the place, right? So clearly this is a myth. What do you think is starting to come to light about this culture, right? About their beliefs, okay? Rama's arrows pierced Ravana's armor and made him wince. Remember, Ravana is this evil king of the land of Lanka. He's got 10 heads, so he should be able to see everything everywhere all the time, and 20 arms. So he is very powerful. And instead, he's being overtaken by a human. What does this say about other beings, right? Are they really all powerful? Ravana was so insensible to pain and impervious to attack that for him to wince was a good sign, and the gods hoped that this was a turn for the better. But at this moment, Ravana suddenly changed his tactics. Instead of merely shooting his arrows, which were powerful in themselves, he also invoked several supernatural forces to create strange effects. He was an adept in the use of various ashtras, We look at 11, that means weapons with supernatural powers, which could be made dynamic with special incantations. Off of page 212. At this point, the fight became one of attack with supernatural powers and parrying as such an attack with other supernatural powers. So now instead of using hand to hand combat or weapon to weapon combat, now they're using supernatural powers against each other. Ravana realized that the mere aiming of shafts with 10 or 20 of his arms would be of no avail because the mortal, whom he had so contemptuously thought of destroying with a slight effort, was proving formidable, and his arrows were beginning to pierce and cause pain. Among the astras sent by Ravana was one called Danda, a special gift from Shiva, capable of pursuing and pulverizing its target. When it came flaming along, the gods were struck with fear, but Rama's arrow neutralized it. So Rama's arrows, this is a human being, remember? Supposedly. His arrows are able to neutralize a supernatural power. So when I picture, because I have to picture things in my head as I read, when I picture this, not to take away from the cultural impact of this story, but I see Pokemon, right? So like you call upon a certain Pokemon or what have you to destroy another person's Pokemon, and he is called upon Donda, um, which is able to supposed to pulverize its target, and it's a flame. So when this flame came along, here comes Rama with his arrow, and he shoots it, and he's able to completely destroy Donda. Now Ravana said to himself, these are all petty weapons. I should really get down to proper business. And he invoked the one called Maya, a weapon which created illusions and confused the enemy. With proper incantations and worship, he sent off this weapon, and it created an illusion of reviving all the armies and its leaders, Kumbhakarna and Indrajit and the others, and bringing them back to the battlefield. Presently, Rama found all those who he thought were no more, excuse me, coming on with battle cries, excuse me, and surrounding him. So Ravana is seeing that Rama is like, oh crap, he is the real deal. He's able to hurt me. He's also able to hurt and destroy my supernatural powers that I call upon. Well, now it's time to use one that makes him see things that aren't really there. So he calls upon the dead to come back to the battlefield, but of course they don't look dead. It's not like zombie apocalypse kind of thing, okay? But when Rama looks up, those who he thought were no more, he sees them coming on the battlefield with battle cries and surrounding him. Every man in the enemy's army was again up in arms. They seemed to fall on Rama with victorious cries. This was very confusing, and Rama asked Matali, whom he had by now revived. So he brought Matali back to life. What is happening now? How are all these coming back? They were dead. Matali explained, in your original identity, you are the creator of illusions in this universe. Please know that Ravana has created phantoms to confuse you. If you make up your mind, you can dispel them immediately. Matali's explanation was a great help. Rama at once invoked a weapon called Gnana, which means wisdom or perception. This was a very rare weapon, and he sent it forth. And all this terrifying armies who seemed to have come on in such a great mass suddenly evaporated into thin air. So this also takes us back to the half a day story, which was your very first one of this unit. When we talk about surrealism. So how does this already seem surreal? Like there are multiple points in this that seem surreal, but the fact that he's able to just think about and use his wisdom, use his perception to cast away the illusion of these soldiers. How is that surreal? Because it seems bizarre. It seems out of this world, right? So what then, again, going back to our original question, what can we infer about cultural beliefs? What are we starting to infer about the beliefs of the Indian culture? What is it that you need to have, or what is it that you need to use to combat evil? You use your wisdom and your ability to perceive things as they really are and not the way that people try to make you see them. Okay. Ravana then shot an astra called Thama, whose nature was to create total darkness in all the worlds. The arrows came with heads exposing, frightening eyes and fangs and fiery tongues. End to end, the earth was enveloped in total darkness, and the whole of creation was paralyzed. This astra also created a deluge of rain on one side, a rain of stones on the other. a hailstorm showering down intermittently and a tornado sweeping the earth. Ravana was sure that this would arrest Rama's enterprise, but Rama was able to meet it with what was named Shivastra. He understood the nature of the phenomenon and the cause of it and chose the appropriate astra for counteracting it. Ravana now shot off what he considered his deadliest weapon, a trident endowed with extraordinary destructive power, once gifted by Ravana, by the gods. When it started on its journey, there was real panic all around. It came on flaming toward Rama, its speed, of course, unaffected by the arrows he flung at it. When Rama noticed his arrows falling down ineffectively while the trident sailed towards him, for a moment he lost heart. When it came quite near, he uttered a certain mantra. From the depth of his being, and while he was breathing out that incantation, an esoteric syllable in perfect timing, the trident collapsed. So he said a prayer, and this trident thing that was coming to destroy him collapsed. Ravana, who had been so certain of vanquishing Rama with his trident, was astonished to see it fall down within an inch of him, and for a minute wondered if his adversary might not after all be a divine being, although he looked like a mortal. Ravana thought to himself, this is perhaps the highest god. Who could he be? Not Shiva, for Shiva is my supporter. He could not be Brahma, who is four-faced, could not be Vishnu because of my immunity from the weapons of the whole Trinity. Perhaps this man is the primordial being, the cause behind the whole universe. But whoever he may be, I will not stop my fight until I defeat and crush him, or at least take him prisoner. So Ravana has had this epiphany, right? This thought: who is this guy? How is he able to defeat me in every single thing I throw at him? There is no way that he's just a regular old human. Is he the one, capital T, capital O? Is he the creator of the universe? Well, that doesn't matter to me right now because I have one goal, and that is to defeat him, right? Or take him prisoner. With this resolve, Ravana next sent a weapon which issued forth monstrous serpents, vomiting fire and venom, with enormous fangs and red eyes. They came darting in from all directions. Rama now selected an astra called Garuda, which meant eagle. Very soon thousands of eagles were aloft, and they picked off the serpents with their claws and beaks and destroyed them. Seeing this also fail, Ravana's anger was roused to a mad pitch, and he blindly emptied a quiver full of arrows in Rama's direction. So he's just throwing arrows at him now. Rama's arrows met them halfway and turned them round so that they went back, and their sharp points embedded themselves into Ravana's own chest. So he sends down this huge pail of arrows down towards Rama, because now he's just so ticked off, like, why isn't any of this working? And he just throws it at Rama, right? The Rama releases his arrows, which then stop Ravana's arrows in mid-flight, makes those arrows turn around, turn back, and fly towards Ravana and pierce him in his own chest. So he's pierced by his own arrows. Ravana was weakening in spirit. He realized that he was at the end of his resources. All his learning and equipment and weaponry were of no avail, and he had practically come to, I'm at the top, page 214, he had practically come to the end of his special gifts of destruction. While he was going down thus, Rama's own spirit was soaring up. The combatants were now near enough to grapple with each other, and Rama realized that this was the best moment to cut off Ravana's heads. He sent a crescent-shaped arrow which sliced off one of Ravana's heads and flung it far into the sea. And this process continued, but every time a head was cut off, Ravana had the benediction of having another one grown in its place. Rama's crescent-shaped weapon was continuously busy as Ravana's heads kept cropping up. Rama lopped off his arms, but they grew again, and every lopped-off arm hit Matali in the chariot and tried to cause destruction by itself. And the tongue in a new head wagged, uttered challenges, and cursed Rama. On the cast-off heads of Ravana, devils and minor demons who had all along been in terror of Ravana and had obeyed and pleased him, executed a dance of death and feasted on the flesh. Ravana was now desperate. Rama's arrows embedded themselves in 100 places in his body and weakened him. Presently he collapsed in a faint on the floor of his chariot. Noticing his state, his charioteer pulled back and drew the chariot aside. Matali whispered to Rama, This is the time to finish off that demon. He is in faint. Go on, go on. But Rama put away his bow and said, It is not fair warfare to attack a man who is in faint. I will wait. Let him recover. And waited. When Ravana revived, he was angry with his charioteer for withdrawing, and took out his sword, crying, You have disgraced me. Those who look on will think I have retreated. But his charioteer explained how Rama suspended the fight and forbore to attack when he was in faint. Somehow Ravana appreciated his explanation and patted his back and resumed his attacks. Having exhausted his special weapons, in desperation Ravana began to throw on Rama all sorts of things such as staves, cast iron balls, heavy rocks, and oddments he could lay hands on. None of them touched Rama, but glanced off and fell ineffectually. Rama went on shooting his arrows. There seemed to be no end of the struggle in sight. Why won't Ravana just give up, right? What does Ravana represent here? He is evil. So, in a cultural belief, he represents evil that is constantly coming back and just won't go away, won't go away. So, what then is Rama representing? Well, let's continue reading. Now Rama had to pause to consider what final measure he should take to bring this campaign to an end. After much thought, he decided to use Brahmastra, a weapon specially designed by the creator, Brahma, on a former occasion, when he had to provide one for Shiva to destroy Tripura, the old monster who assumed the forms of flying mountains and settled down on habitations and cities, seeking to destroy the world. Brahmastra was a special gift to be used only when all other means had failed. Now Rama, with prayers and worship, invoked its fullest power and sent it in Ravana's direction, aiming at his heart rather than his head. Ravana being vulnerable at heart. Ravana being vulnerable at heart. While he had prayed for indestructibility of his several heads and arms, he had forgotten to strengthen his heart, where the Brahmastra entered and ended his career. Rama watched him fall headlong from his chariot face down onto the earth, and that was the end of the great campaign. Now one noticed Ravana's face aglow with a new quality. Rama's arrows had burnt off the layers of dross, the anger, conceit, cruelty, lust, and egotism that had encrusted his real self, and now his personality came through in its pristine form, of one who was devout and capable of tremendous attainments. His constant meditation on Rama, although as an adversary, now seemed to bear fruit, as his face shone with serenity and peace. Rama noticed it from his chariot above and commanded Matali, Set me down on the ground. When the chariot descended and came to rest on its wheels, Rama got down and commanded Matali, I am grateful for your services to me. You may now take the chariot back to Indra. Surrounded by his brother Lakshmana and Hanuman, all his other war chiefs, Rama approached Ravana's body and stood gazing on it. He noted his crowns and jewelry scattered piecemeal on the ground. The decorations and extraordinary workmanship of the armor on his chest were blood-covered. Rama sighed as if to say, What might he not have achieved but for the evil stirring within him? Meaning he would have achieved so much in his life had he not been overtaken by such evil. At this moment, as they readjusted Ravana's blood-stained body, Rama noticed to his great shock a scar on Ravana's back and said with a smile, Perhaps this is not an episode of glory for me, as I seem to have killed an enemy who was turning his back and retreating. Perhaps I was wrong in shooting the Brahmastra into him. He looked so concerned at this supposed lapse on his part that Vibhishana, Ravana's brother, came forward to explain. What you have achieved is unique. I say so although it meant the death of my brother. But I have attacked a man who has turned his back, Rama said. See that scar? Vibhishana explained, It is an old scar. In ancient days, when he paraded his strength around the globe, once he tried to attack the divine elephants that guard the four directions. When he tried to catch them, he was gored in the back by one of the tuskers, and that is the scar you see now. It is not a fresh one, though fresh blood is flowing on it. Rama accepted the explanation. Honor him and cherish his memory so that his spirit may go to heaven, where he has a place. And now I will leave you to attend to his funeral arrangements befitting his grandeur. All right. And that's the end. They're on page 216. That's the end of the Ramayana. So again, we have Ravana, who represents evil, and Rama, who represents good and virtue. What is the common belief? What do you think is the common belief of the people based on this story? Okay, that's something to keep in mind. I want you to think about how good maybe overtook evil, how even though good had a chance to destroy evil when evil's back was turned, or when evil was at its lowest moment, decided not to and decided to face it head on and maybe even try to talk it down. And then when you can't use words and you have to just go ahead and destroy evil because you don't want evil to run rampant throughout yourself and throughout the land, you just have to get rid of it by using wisdom. When he did that, he then found the beauty that was within this being, but the beauty could not shine through because it had been so overtaken for so many centuries by evil itself. Okay. So now that you've finished reading and listening to the audio, you need to, if you look at the syllabus, head over to the haiku page, check out the assignments tab, and you will see the reading comprehension questions. I beg you, beg you, beg you. Once you finish your comprehension questions, resubmit them on haiku, okay? Please. Please don't email them to me. It's getting really, really hard trying to find everybody's assignments and having to go between Remind and Google Classroom or Google Docs, Haiku, and my email. It's just a lot of places I have to check for all of your work. So please try really hard to submit it on Haiku. Okay? If you have any questions, please shoot me a message on Remind. Thanks, guys.